Hello everyone and welcome to Who Wore It Better, the weekly segment which I review Raw and Smackdown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. Happy Independence Day for all the American viewers of this channel, and let's just get this out of the way right now. America, 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 America. Raw begins with Enzo Amore coming to the ring, and long story short, this guy cut the promo of his life. This was a hell of a way to start the show. A terrific promo by Enzo here. You know, for a long time we've seen him have this character of being this very hubristic and braggadocious and loud character, and he had some of that here, obviously, but he also pulled a lot of it back and had like a wide range of emotions. This is like the perfect promo because he has the highs, he has the lows, the peaks and the valleys, and he comes off so like humble, like he's an authentic person here, not just the loud Muppet that he usually is every week. And I mean, I don't want to go into every detail of what he said here. One of my favorite lines here he said was that "You're a 7-foot catchphrase that I wrote." There was a great burn on cast there. It's a really strong promo overall. I recommend you guys take a look at it if you haven't seen it yet. We cut to the back where we see Big Cass being interviewed to get his thoughts on what just happened in the ring. Cass starts talking, but he's immediately jumped from behind by Enzo Amore. They have a big brawl in the back. It's being split up by everybody. They will be fighting in a singles match at Great Balls of Fire. Sasha Banks and Bayley taking on Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. Early in the match, Nia Jax gets tossed out of the ring, gets back on the apron, stands there for a bit, then knocks off Bayley toward the outside. She does a running attack onto Bayley against the barricade, and then Bayley's taken out. It just becomes a 2-on-1 thing. I don't know if the injury was a work or a shoot. If it's a work, wow, that's pretty sad. If it's a shoot, I hope that Bayley got well from that. She's okay. But yeah, so Bayley's taken out, and it's a 2-on-1 match from there on out. The one real notable thing was this really awkward point where Sasha has Alexa in this like head scissors thing in the corner, and she's trying to like bring her down. I don't know if she's trying to like supposed to take a tumble face first into the turnbuckle or take a flat bump on the face or what, but instead Alexa takes this really ugly thing where she just kind of runs right into Sasha's crotch and then just kind of takes a knee. It didn't look very good. Not a good look for, you know, the women's champion. The match ends when Alexa goes for a DDT. Sasha counters with the Banks statement, and by this point Nia's been knocked out of the ring. Sasha Banks wins the match for her team. There you go. Cruiserweight time. Cedric Alexander takes on Noam Dar in the feud that will never die. Cedric wins via lung blower in very quick fashion. Let's just move on already. On this week's edition of Miz TV, they address last week's Miz TV, where the whole controversy with LeVar Ball and Lonzo and LaMelo and everything, they're going to milk this thing dry for all the work because they showed off all like the hype in the mainstream press the segment got for as ridiculous as it was. Miz says that Lonzo Ball will be a bust and that LeVar Ball is an embarrassment, and he ties that into Dean Ambrose, and he cuts a promo on Dean here saying that Dean represents everything about wasted potential, and it brings up all the times that Dean has had success and he seems to squander it away. He can't handle success. I wonder how much of this promo was like written, penned expressly by Vince McMahon or something like that, because it seems like it's one of those things you would hear something like him say, him or Kevin Dunn, something like that, like this grand conspiracy against Dean Ambrose. Dean comes out and says he wants a rematch against The Miz. Heath Slater comes out and says, wait, you know, I actually am the last person to beat The Miz. I deserve a shot at the Intercontinental title. Really good promo, strong promo by Heath Slater as well. Then Kurt Angle comes out and says, you know, Miz is going to fight both people. He's fighting Dean Dean is fighting for the championship at Great Balls of Fire, and he's facing the winner of the next match, Miz versus Heath Slater for the Intercontinental title. The Miz is still wearing his street clothes. In the preceding segment for Miz TV, he's wearing a suit, but he's still wearing his wrist tape and wrestling boots underneath. So there you go. Dean Ambrose is on commentary during this match, and he mumbles a lot. He does spend a lot of time putting the Miz over as a competitor, and I kind of wish he didn't, because it seems kind of counterintuitive to Dean's character for him to speak so respectfully about the Miz, and you know, he's a great competitor, he's one of the best wrestlers here today. You know, Steve Austin would do that on commentary and in promos, but he would still kind of wrap it up at the end saying, I still hate your guts and I want to beat your ass, something like that. Like, I wish Dean incorporated more of that in his commentary here, because I think it was way too complimentary to this heated rival of his. Early in the match, The Miz splits the seat of his pants but continues on like the fighting champion that he is. He goes for a top rope move, but Heath Slater jumps up and power slams him, which I've never seen before from him. That was a really cool counter. He's really looking like he's going to win this thing, but then as this is happening on the outside, Rhino gets in a brawl with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. The Miz charge. Curtis Axel, by the way, points for combing your hair to the side for the first time in your entire career, and so as that brawl's going on, you know, Heath Slater's distracted. Miz hits skull-crushing finale, retains the championship. Then in the aftermath, they continue to beat up Slater and Rhino. Dean Ambrose makes the save and gets beat up by The the Miz Taraj. It was a great look for the Miz, getting a lot of heel heat here, beating up Ambrose and Slater, and the Miz Taraj looking strong. Great match between him and Slater. It was really cool to see Slater getting this opportunity here. You know, it was almost, there was a couple of times, oh my God, maybe he's going to win it, you know. Unpredictability's here at last, but, you know, that was not the case. I would like to see Slater continue to be involved in something like this in the mid-card from here on out, if possible. The Shattered Truth, take 2. Goldust is in the ring and announces the world premiere of his new feature film, The Shattered Truth. It's a fancy highlight reel that shows what happened last week between he and R-Truth, only this time it combines not only the broadcast footage they used, but also like the POV, you know, shoulder-mounted camera stuff from the guy who looked like Rockstar Spud last week. And it was really cool to see the combination of that. You don't often see that inside the ring POV perspective, so it's kind of cool to see that with the cinematic filter over it. The lights come back up after the highlight reel is over, and you see R-Truth is behind Goldust, is in the director's chair looking at the screen. R-Truth's got a big grin on his face with a mouthful of popcorn. Goldust turns around, tosses the director's chair at R-Truth. R-Truth tosses the popcorn in his face, and they have a brawl. Goldust gets hit shoulder first into the corner post, powders, and that's the end of the segment there. This, to me, was a huge improvement over last week's segment, and I think, you know, I kind of unfairly criticized that segment last week because it was leading to this. You know, if they had not done that last week's segment, I think this would have been a stronger way to continue the storyline. I mean, I guess I wasn't being patient enough, but there you have it. This was way better than last week. Seth Rollins taking on Curt Hawkins in a rematch, and apparently last week the fans of Los Angeles just didn't believe enough in Curt Hawkins for him to win. So he goes to pull the audience once again, but before he can do that, Seth cuts him off. He beats him up, and the match is over pretty lickety-split, hits him with a flying knee to win the match. Seth then calls up Bray Wyatt. He says, you know, I'm going to prove to everyone at Great Balls of Fire, you're not a god, you're a coward, and there you go. More build for the Samoa Joe Brock Lesnar match for Great Balls of Fire, where it's a split-screen live interview gimmick, but Michael Cole is quickly shut down by Samoa Joe, and so for the rest of the bit, Joe and Lesnar spend the time talking over each other, putting themselves over. At one point, Joe says, I've had enough of this, you know, I want to fight you, rips off the mic, and the IFB starts storming through the arena looking for Joe. Jamie Noble and Adam Pearce are trying to stop him from getting involved. Then Kurt Angle and a throng of security shows up to break things up, and Joe says a really cool line here. He says, I'll remind you of who I am. So a throwback to their rivalry in TNA. So he finds Lesnar's locker room and he bursts in, and then security breaks it up, and then there's, you know, so Brock is laughing at him, and as Joe, while Joe is just furious, I'm gonna kill you and everything like that. Really cool build. And you know, even though it doesn't come to blows like the last couple of weeks between the two of them, the last couple of altercations, this is good, more good build, more good character development here. You see more just like the emotion and how badly Joe wants this, you know, and sometimes his emotions get the best of him, while Lesnar is just cool and cocky, and he's just shrugging it off and really trying to get in the head of Joe. Really good stuff here. Cruiserweight time. Neville takes on Mustafa Ali in a non-title match. This match was far more competitive than Cedric and Noam for Order of the Night, but that's not saying much. A couple of times when Mustafa has Neville in near-fall predicaments after a twisting moonsault and a big tornado DDT spot, but ultimately Neville comes back, hits him with a sick lariat and the Rings of Saturn to win the match. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo on Seth Rollins in the middle of the Arizona desert. I bet you anything they shot that thing as early in the morning as they could, so it'd be 105 degrees instead of 110. Anyway, Bray talks more about he's a god, and that at Great Balls of Fire, Seth will burn. Just a lot more of the same stuff from Bray Wyatt. It's like at a certain point, I stopped listening to the details of what he's saying because it's all kind of the same. In what should have been the main event of the night, you have Finn Balor taking on Cesaro in singles action. Cesaro and Sheamus with what seems to be an ever-growing number of patches and accoutrements on their jackets. These two have been booked, and now it's been announced on Monday that they'll be facing the Hardys in a tag team title match, a 30-minute Iron Man match at Great Balls of Fire. Should be an interesting one there. Speaking of the Hardys, they come out doing commentary during the match. Matt is, of course, not broken yet, but he is throwing in those 2-bit broken words that he would occasionally say on Impact. Jeff starts to talk a little bit, but his mic's not working, so for the bulk of the match, he's very silent. They fix it later on. Great match. The best match of the night. I recommend you guys check this out because it was really awesome. These two, I can watch them wrestle every night, and it'd be awesome. The match gets to its conclusion. Elias Sampson starts making his way to the ring. Finn's about to hit the running dropkick, but Elias Sampson comes in, plays a chord on the guitar. Sampson trips up Balor at the apron while the referee is distracted. The Hardy Boys come down to make the save, and everyone gets their shit in. Everyone's hitting somebody else else with their big moves back and forth. Finn hits Cesaro with a running drop kick on the outside, brings him back into the ring and hits him with the, say it with me everyone, the coup de grace. Yes, I know I'm saying it wrong. Watch a goddamn Looney Tunes cartoon if you want the reference. And wins the match. And yeah, a great match of the night, and I recommend you guys watch it. In the final segment for the night, Braun Strowman roars. Their words, not mine. All night, so who's Braun Strowman going to face? He wants competition. Who's going to fight him? So an ambulance rolls in, Braun comes out, Titus O'Neil comes out, introduces Apollo Crews, and like, it would mean so much more if Apollo Crews was actually winning a lot of matches, but like, the fans, you know, it's just a weird place for these guys to be involved with the main event segment because, you know, Apollo is a bland babyface who doesn't win, and he's allied with Titus O'Neil, who's a heel slash tweener now, kind of, who is very uninteresting, and he's not a face. So why do people care about these two? It's just very weird to have them go from mid-card stuff to all of a sudden, oh, we're in this main event thing with Braun Strowman, who's also working with Roman Reigns, Great Balls of Fire. Very weird. The only thing worth talking about in this whole match is when Apollo goes for the standing moonsault, and he is just blocked. And he is just rejected by Braun Strowman, kicked, and just flies halfway across the ring. 3 running power slams, and that's all she wrote. Braun Strowman wins the match. He throws Apollo into the ambulance after beating up Titus O'Neil, and he's gonna try and get the ambulance to go. It doesn't go. Braun peeks into the driver's seat of the car. Roman Reigns pops out, bitch, and they fight for a bit on the stage, kind of a repeat of last week. Only this time, Roman spears Strowman off the stage through a table. Very dramatic way to end the segment. I mean, Roman coming out was predictable. It was billed, oh, he wasn't there tonight, so yeah, for him to show up. Of course he's going to show up. Predictable, but still fun, still entertaining. But yeah, just the whole thing with Titus and Apollo there just stuck out like a sore thumb. It didn't make any sense because no one cares about them yet. Smackdown begins with the much hyped and ballyhooed return of John Cena, who we have not seen since WrestleMania. I'm kind of surprised he didn't have a new shirt to sell here. He puts over America. He puts over WWE, both of which are natural fits for him. He talks about the best line in this promo, in my opinion, was him saying, I'm not a part-timer, I'm an all-timer. He goes on to explain his rationale as to why he's a free agent, can jump from show to show, which didn't really clarify anything. He is interrupted by Rusev, who we have not seen since he was injured and then put on the shelf in kayfabe mode by Big Show. That was his way of getting written off to get shoulder surgery. And it was weird. It was a nice piece of continuity here because in his promo, he brings up the fact that I was sending videos to Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon about coming back. And, he was tired of waiting. So it was like, okay, good. There's some continuity. I was afraid they were just going to forget the whole thing where he was demanding a title shot. Still upsetting that he doesn't come back and get one right away, but there you go. He talks about how in Bulgaria, our Independence Day, we march and we show our strength. You American pigs, stuff your faces with hot dogs and hamburgers, which gets a yes chant, by the way. That wasn't supposed to be a compliment. And so John Cena challenges into a flag match. Rusev says, no, it'll be on my terms, on my time. And of course, that match now has been booked for Battleground in a few weeks. What disappoints me about this is it's John Cena, it's Rusev. We know where this is going to go, and it's disappointing that Rusev, could come in with a lot of hype and momentum with a big win here, but I don't think he's going to. AJ Styles takes on Chad Gable in a win and you're in match. Whoever would win this match would get put in the Battle Royal later on in the night. The winner of that match will face Kevin Owens at Battleground for the US Championship. Chad Gable being put in this mini singles run, like last week against Kevin Owens and then this week against Styles, seems so arbitrary. Like, American Alpha is off TV for what feels like forever, and they finally come back and it's just a vehicle for Chad as a singles guy. Why not have Jason Jordan doing something concurrently in the singles, not fighting each other, but just each man doing their singles thing for a bit before going back to the tag scene? If you're going to have Chad Gable come out there, and they're known for being a tag team, get them over the way they got over originally. Make them a tag team again. It just seems weird. That being said, this is a great match. Easily the match of the night for SmackDown. It's the only time in SmackDown's history of using those picture-in-picture commercials that the match itself, while the commercial is going on, is actually interesting. So, kudos to them for making that happen. Chad starts out with some Greco-Roman stuff early on, and it gets very, evenly matched here at the end. At one point, Chad he counters a Styles Clash attempt into an ankle lock. Styles encounters that into a calf crusher, and then they both get up and they both sell their leg at the same time. So that was kind of a cool little sequence there. Styles ultimately wins with the phenomenal forearm. So interesting where Chad's going to go from here, because he seemed very slighted when Styles said backstage, I'm not afraid of a little competition, and Chad took offense to that. And meanwhile, Chad didn't get in the Battle Royal, but Jason Jordan did. It's a Carmella-bration. Carmella and James Ellsworth come out to rub it in everyone's faces about what happened last week and last week's second ever Money in the Bank ladder match match. Naomi comes out to interrupt her, and now she's got, with her women's championship belt, it's been bedazzled in LED lights to go with the glow gimmick, which I think is a perfect fit for her. But when I see it all darkened with the lights, it looks kind of weird. It looks like arts and crafts project. You know, it's weird. They put lights in between the two W's of the WWE logo, and it just looks so weird when the lights are out. It looks fine when the lights are on and everything's cool, but when it's in the dark, it looks kind of hokey to me. Let me know what you guys think about the belt in the comment section below. Anyway, Naomi introduces Daniel Bryan, who comes out. He quickly fines and suspends James Ellsworth for 30 days for what he did last week, and he mentions that if you violate these rules, I will be stripping Carmella of the briefcase. So Carmella quickly ushers James Ellsworth out. This immediately leads into yet another women's championship rematch, Naomi defending against Lana. For the record, Lana now has 3 singles matches under her belt with 3 championship matches for those. So is this a rib? I don't know. The reason they're doing this rematch in the first place is because last week in their title match, Lana's shoulder came up incidentally during the cover when Naomi won. And, you know, it's very similar to what happened a couple of months ago with Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox. So I get them doing the rematch here in that respect. But if they're going to bring that up as justification for the rematch, then why have the match be the way it was? It was 10 seconds, Naomi gets her in the submission, Lana taps out. If they're going to do that, don't bring up that shoulder thing. That was not as obvious as the Sasha Banks Alicia Fox thing. So after the match, Lana's selling her shoulder, and Tamina gets into the ring and gets in between Lana and Naomi, and she looks at Lana and tells her to get up. Come on, come with me. Get up, come with me. The way she was saying it, I don't know why. For some reason, I was reminded of this one line from Basketball.
Wake up, bitch, you're my new best friend. Really?
But the whole idea of Tamina possibly being Lana's trainer or mentor or bodyguard, that's intriguing. Backstage, Shinsuke Nakamura is being interviewed when he's attacked from behind almost immediately by Baron Corbin, who's wearing a Chris Jericho circa 2001 button-up shirt. Why the fashion police did not immediately drop tickets on him for that, I have no idea. But you see, Shinsuke Nakamura, he's no Sami Zayn, because unlike Sami, who just falls over and dies after being attacked by Baron Corbin in backstage, Shinsuke gets back up and actually fights back. Up next is a rap battle pitting the Usos and the New Day. The event's being moderated by Wale, who's actually a fan of the show. So if you're watching this, hello Wale! Each side coming out with their own posse for some reason. The Usos come out with what I'm guessing is aces and eights, and the New Day come out with the Rosebuds. As far as like who won this battle, it was actually pretty evenly matched, because like the New Day started off kind of weak and then got strong by the end, especially with Xavier Woods. And then meanwhile, the Usos started out strong, but then they kept repeating their lines too often. Especially the biggest bird of the night was "Don't get R-rated like Xavier Woods," which got one of the biggest pops of the whole thing. But then they repeated that line right afterward, I think just to get their rhythm back, which kind of threw everything off. And so the Usos repeated themselves a couple of times during the battle, when the New Day, like I said, Xavier Woods really finishing strong with the strong disc, but the Usos carrying the bags for Roman. The Usos have had it. They throw hands on the New Day while he disqualifies the Usos. The New Day win. So kind of an interesting way to end it. You know, I think the whole segment itself was pretty entertaining. Aiden English sings. Aiden English is interrupted by a clean-shaven Randy Orton. So very similar to last week, only this week they're actually having a match. Aiden jumps Orton from behind before the bell rings, hits him with the microphone, throws him into the stairs, goes to do some more singing, and as he's starting to sing, it cuts to commercial. Oh, I want to hear more of the singing. But for the first part of this match, Aiden is beating Orton's ass. It's very surprising, but Orton gets his second wind, responds in kind, does the drape over DDT to Aiden off the table onto the floor. At this point, I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a count-out draw, because they're out there for a long time, and the referee's not counting anything. Eventually, Orton hits Aiden with the steel steps. That causes a disqualification, so Orton just beats the hell out of Aiden English, and Orton's standing strong. Jinder Mahal comes out, interrupts, saying, "I will beat tolerance into everyone here," and he's about to speak in his language for his people, but Orton cuts him off and says, "Nobody hates you because of the way you talk or the way you look. They hate you because you're a jackass." And like, boom, mic drop. That's when the music hits. That was his like closing salvo, and that was kind of a funny way to end it. But there you go. Orton looking strong, beating up Aiden English. About as strong as you can look beating up Aiden English, going into the further build with him and Jinder Mahal. Some backstage shtick as we go into the Battle Royal main event. First, Ty Dillinger, who we haven't seen in forever, is being interviewed by Tyler Breeze in drag, while Fandango's in the shadows looking on from behind. And you've got Mike and Maria Kanellis doing an interview backstage, which, by the way, I didn't realize I totally missed their bit last week on Smackdown. I had no idea that there was a segment with them and Sami Zayn. That just totally didn't even see. I must have fast forwarded too fast on the DVR and just missed it, so my bad for missing it there. But they did kind of a repeat this week here. You got Sami Zayn making noise off camera during their interview. He's stretching for the match. He gushes about Huey Lewis in the news for a minute, and then he goes out for his match. The moment is ruined. So we had the Battle Royal for the main event, and the whole thing is just like a showcase of SmackDown's forgotten potential, because you've got guys like Ty Dillinger in there, and Luke Harper, and to a lesser extent Eric Rowan, and The Ascension, and Jason Jordan, and Mojo Rawley, all these people who just aren't being used on television. It's like, hey, remember these guys? Here they are. We need bodies for this Battle Royal thing as an excuse to get AJ Styles over, and which he does in the end. Kevin Owens is on commentary for this, and he's pretty hilarious. There's a moment, the final three are Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Ty Dillinger, and Kevin Owens talks about how 2 of the 3 men in the ring are Canadian, so it shows you between them and me, you know, the Canadians are the better athletes, but by the way, I'm better than those 2 Canadians. The final 2 are Styles and Sami Zayn. Zayn goes for a haluva kick. He misses it and goes over the top rope, and Styles Pele kicks him out of the ring to win the match. I almost forgot to mention, at one point Mojo eliminates Zack Ryder in the Battle Royal, which is kind of a shocking thing, because in an earlier segment backstage, when they were talking about how the Hype Bros are going to be in the Battle Royal, there's a moment where Mojo's by himself, and he looks at the Hype Bros t-shirt kind of like wistfully, like something's got to give here, man. And so this is probably planting the seeds of that. I originally thought it was going to be a Zack Ryder heel turn, but now it appears it might be a Mojo heel turn. It's very interesting there. So anyway, AJ wins the match. Kevin Owens comes in, immediately jumps him, but Styles comes back, and Kevin Owens powders, and that's how SmackDown ends. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. This week's offering was interesting because both shows did a lot of experimentation involving a lot of unproven commodities, aka jobbers, up against established talents. Kurt Hawkins, Heath Slater, Apollo Crews, Aiden English, a bunch of guys who don't often win, much less get on television, being put here in these bigger matches. Of course, they ultimately lose here, but it's interesting to see them all getting these shots here. That being said, I think Raw was the stronger show this week. In my opinion, it's the better balance of great matches and great moments. I mean, just look at those opening segments for both shows. Enzo's promo on Raw, John Cena's promo on SmackDown. If you weigh the two there, which would you pick in terms of promos, like where they felt authentic, you really got behind the guy that was talking? I mean, I think it's no brainer. Enzo wins that one. I loved Slater versus Miz. That was a very pleasant surprise. The Shattered Truth segment, you know, with the power of hindsight, knowing what last week's thing was, even though I was disappointed with last week's, seeing what that led to for this one was a big plus in my book. I love the Joe versus Lesnar segment, the backstage stuff and the scuffle. Finn Balor and Cesaro was a great match. And really, you know, again, I don't agree with what they did with Titus and Apollo being there in the main event thing with Braun. Kind of a head scratcher, but I did like, of course, I'm going to put that whole moment where, you know, he does the reverse moonsault, gets kicked across the ring. That's a pro in and of itself for me. Cedric versus Noam, didn't really care for it. With both cruiserweight matches didn't need to be there, but more so Cedric and Noam Dar. Seth and Kurt Hawkins didn't need to be there either. So that's really my gripes with Raw. As far as SmackDown goes, I love the AJ Styles Chad Gable match. That was a terrific match. The Tamina intrigue with Lana, like, I don't know where it's going specifically, but I am interested in it. And, you know, the rap battle, it went a little long, but I think it was overall entertaining. But yeah, again, Naomi and Lana, the match itself, why that need to happen. You could have set up the storyline of Tamina and Lana in a lot of different ways than having that match one more time. You could have ignored the whole shoulder up last week controversy to justify this match, in my opinion. And the Cena Rusev thing, like I said before, we know where this is going. I think, you know, it was an okay use of Cena, but like, what from that promo have we seen that we've never seen before from him? So yeah, SmackDown overall, not as strong in my opinion as Raw. So let me know what you thought about Raw and SmackDown this week in the comments section below, and don't forget to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and some extra content. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.